Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the MMLA Connect Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Kik, and today I have Ryan Evans with National MI. Ryan, happy to have you.
Thanks so much, Steve. I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We've been trading emails back and forth and talks and texts and all that kind of stuff, and finally able to figure it out. So good to have you on, Ryan. It's been a long time coming. So yeah, man, recently you just got your CMB. So let's hit on that because that's a big accomplishment. And you just hit that. You have your AMP and now your CMB. So let's talk about that, Ryan, a little bit. How was that process for you? And how do you feel now that it's over?
Sure. The process for me, I probably did everything the hard way. Definitely different than those who have been a CMB for years would probably advise. I started the process years ago when I worked for United Guarantee, probably around 2000, 2001. My direct report at the time was Griff Straw, who was like the king of the CMBs, teaches some of the School of Mortgage Banking classes, and he wanted all of his people to get this certification. So I had my eye on that for, years, but it was only, 8 or 9 years ago when School of Mortgage Banking 1 for the first time came to Michigan. It was in Novi. I took the class and I really enjoyed it. There's a test at the end and all that, did well, and thought, all right, I want to continue to progress through this. The second school is on secondary marketing, hedging. It is tough. The test is tough as any college course or test that I've taken. So it took me a while before I was going through that. I had to fly. It was in Birmingham, Alabama at the time. And then school 3, I was able to do during COVID. It was all online. And so I only really had to, register for the course itself. It didn't require me to do travel and all of that sort of thing. And once I got the AMP, like when that happens, the first question everybody asks you is, when are you going to get your CMB? It's like after you get married and every grandparent or every would-be grandparent's like, when are you going to have grandkids? It's just like that. Yeah. So finally, I took the prep course 2 years ago. We have a great tuition reimbursement program at work. So for anybody who is considering, pursuing CMB or whatnot, the company may allow you to utilize it under something like that. So check with your human resources department. But that's the route that I went. What I learned was you're not going to be able to study for the written and the oral without shifting something else around. Like I thought, I'll be able to study a little here, study a little there. And I found that created this massive delay for me because I took the prep course 2 years before I finally took the written exam. And that is not how the MBA would advise you to do that. But I finally learned that I had to sacrifice something if I really wanted this. There was something I was going to have to cut out to make the room to study for this. And once I finally did that, the support that I received from other people who had already achieved this was tremendous. That really got me over the finish line. Those individuals like Todd Potter and Terry Aiken and Brent Green was my sponsor. Huge help to me. Kate McDougall and so many others who were just a big aid in my being able to finally get that done. How do I feel now? Absolutely relieved to have it finally completed. And it's something that I wanted that kind of shows that I'm committed to the industry. I mean, more than 25 years later, this is the industry I'm in. I want to be a part of it, and advocacy, continuing education, and even mentorship for other individuals who want to go down this path.
Well, huge congratulations. I know regardless of how long it took you to get there, it's a major accomplishment, and I know it's going to help, continue furthering your career. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So talking about your career, Ryan, let's bring it back to the beginning. Let's talk about where you started, how you got into the industry, and kind of where you're at with National MI now.
Yeah. So when I went away to school, like so many others, I didn't go to school for a mortgage banking degree. I went to Western Michigan University, home of the
Go Broncos.
Go Broncos, home of the hockey champs. They won it for the first time ever this year. I call them the world champs, but probably need to draw that back
in. Fair
enough. College. But very excited about that. I went to Western, and my initial dream was to become an actor. That's what I wanted to do. I found out very quickly that I do not have the wherewithal to be the starving artist trying to be discovered. I parlayed that into a business degree in marketing and advertising. And I like to say that today sales is really kind of maybe sometimes it's the acting of the business world. It really helped me though tremendously with presentation skills and the ability to do a lot of what it is that I do today. I got my first career job out of college, actually working for RMIC. It was a mortgage insurance company that doesn't exist anymore, at least not in terms of writing new business. And I was just doing, at the time, automated underwriting wasn't accessible to every lender. So every morning, a courier would drop off all of these manila envelopes, and I would just put all of the data into AUS and then fax over the findings to loan officers at different lenders that we did business with. And then they would call me and say, okay, now change this, and this, and fax it back. And so I was doing that, but I learned a ton about the business, about how desktop underwriter, and we call it loan prospector today. I learned all about how Fannie and Freddie work and all of that stuff. And I parlayed that into a job with United Guarantee, which got me into sales, which was where I wanted to go. And I worked there for 9 years. And then I was at Ohio Savings Bank. Financial crisis comes around. They didn't last. They didn't make it through that. Ended up working for Dart Appraisal down the line for 6 years in AMC, learned a ton about the business there. And then National MI came calling now 9 years ago. Private mortgage insurance bookends, my time in the business, but I've had a pretty well-rounded education through these jobs that I have worked in the business. And some people look down a little bit on moving around job to job throughout your career. For me, it was survival. I mean, we went through a financial crisis in 2008. We went through COVID in 2020. I saw tons of people lose jobs throughout that process. I landed on my feet. And one of the biggest reasons why was when I had to have a job, I went to the MMLA, somebody that I knew in the MMLA, and I found out what opportunities were available. And that got me, back on my feet when I needed to from a career standpoint. So huge props to the MMLA and the value of networking and being part of a trade org.
Absolutely. I've seen firsthand, people, and that's not necessarily, we're not recruiting at these meetings at all. You're getting to know people. And when you know someone who's a good person and a good worker needs a job, they usually have a position that can be filled within the MMLA. So it's pretty cool to have those kinds of connections for sure.
Absolutely.
But let's move back here a little bit. Let's talk about this acting bug, because who else kind of had the acting bug growing up? Me. So I was the lead in our 6th grade play, and I always kind of pictured myself doing that. But same thing happened where it was like this realistic expectation from the world that you're not going to make money if you go into that. It's going to be really hard, and nobody makes it big, and you're going to be poor, whatever. And so your dreams get shot down, right? So maybe that's, I never thought of it in that regard. Sales and what I'm in now does allow me in a little bit of a way to, do some of the social media stuff or acting, if you will, some of that kind of stuff. But why did you, what were you into when you were acting? What were you doing growing up?
Yeah, so when I was young, I was a part of school plays, church plays. When I was in high school, I was on the drama team. I was always hanging around the theater, always involved with the productions that were going on there. It's something, I got as far as getting photos done and applying to some local plays and things like that. And it just, you reach a point where you're either going to do this full time or you're going to do something that actually makes money full time. And at least from my perspective, I liken it to when kids get into sports and they find out that they're very good and then they have the dream of going pro. They say that very few of athletes actually, even if you're really good in college, there's an excellent chance you might not make it pro. And so from an acting standpoint, I don't have all the statistics, but it feels like it's even fewer that have that truly make it, depending on what it is they aspire to, whether it's to do theater, whether it's to be in movies and TV, or if it's just to teach it, get a teaching degree and that kind of a thing. But it's something that I was very passionate about and still am. I'm a self-professed film snot. I love a great movie, and I pick apart all the score and the dialogue and everything that goes along with it, probably beyond what most people do. So it was something that I really got into, but I think there was a part of me, especially when I got to college, that just kind of knew, I don't know, I really like this, but there's some people that love it and they still don't even make it
Yeah.
professionally. So
Yeah.
instead, I've been able to utilize those skills that I have doing video or presentations with work. Again, in sales, it can very much help you to differentiate yourself in that way.
Yeah, we definitely get to experience that with getting up in front of people and talking and presenting and educating. I think for me, it's definitely about educating people, whether it be about mortgages or mortgage insurance in your
Yeah.
case, right? The more they know, the more options that people have, right? So yeah, and it's funny because for me, it was always like I wanted to be on the big screen growing up. It was the sports that actually it was like you had to choose one or the other, right? And for me, I chose sports, right? So that was the decision that I made, when I was a kid. But it was always in the back of my mind, that I enjoyed it. And my brother actually did a high school play at one point, and it was like it kind of reignited that flame a little bit in my mind. But I never really did anything with it. So maybe that's why years later here, I'm a little bit more comfortable, doing stuff on social media to replace.
Well,
But
and the advent of social media and all of that has really allowed people to become, mini studios almost, depending on how far you want to take it. And
yeah,
so it's given a lot of people, I mean, we know what the value of some top influences are now, right? And it's more than just, I like this makeup, or hey, well, here's this great fishing lure, or hey, like these are individuals that are good on camera. They can get a message across and do it perhaps with some charisma and make it attractive. And then someone wants to invest in them and doing that to promote their product. So social media has allowed many, many people to kind of jump the line, so to speak, of what you would probably normally have to do to showcase the skills that you have
yeah,
in the video world.
yeah. People can get a 24/7 interview with someone if you put videos online, right?
Yeah.
They can interview you at any moment. And that's continued to stay with me. And it's a way that they can get to know me without having to call me or connect with me. Not that I don't want to connect with them, because that's the whole point of it for me, is to create an opportunity for the human connection to
Hmm.
take place. But we utilize the tools that we have to create those opportunities. So social media
Absolutely.
has definitely been one of those things.
And it's an effective tool, more so than, sending an email or, even a text or whatnot. I think the part of the video component that works so well on social media is that it just feels much more real. And so people feel like they can relate to a lot of the things that influencers or others are doing in video. And oftentimes it's a great way to kind of get your message through all of the noise that's out there. So,
Yeah, for sure. Let's dive a little bit deeper into it. I think we talked
Mhm.
about this before, and you said that, video is really kind of the way to go nowadays with connecting with people. So tell me, how are you going about that, and why are you going about that? Let's go a little bit deeper.
Sure. So I help to promote a lot of the training that we do at National MI now through video that I'll do myself, and I just do it on a smartphone, on an iPhone. And it's a very modest investment, right? I've got a stand and I got a little microphone that you plug a receiver into the end of your, and it's amazing how much it improves the audio and everything. And those are very inexpensive things anyone can get on Amazon. And then I just have to be creative. And that's one of the biggest parts of it with video, is the creativity piece. It's great if you can present or whatnot, but do you have a message or something that's catchy for someone? Or are you doing something, maybe playing a character or trying to add some comedy or drama or whatever it is that you want to do? So for me, I take a pretty rigorous approach, like anyone would from an acting standpoint, where I script it out. Some people just naturally go with the flow, and that's great. For me, I need to have a script. I do memorization. I'll rehearse, and probably look crazy to other people when I'm talking to myself, rehearsing and doing this stuff. I definitely have had neighbors across the street, if I'm filming something in my garage or outside around the house, that are like, what's he doing over there? But I've been able to be effective, like taking a process of writing out what my message should be, what I want to say, memorizing that. I do multiple takes. Generally, if I get it all right, I'm done. I'm not, trying to do multiple correct takes. I have to do multiple takes because I screw something up, but these phones make it so easy to just chop video at front and back. I'm not awesome at editing. The stuff that I do for work, we have a gal, her name is Jenny. We call her Jenny Magic because what she does with editing is the magic. It's really the finished product. That's going deeper and doing something big that we'll post corporately on LinkedIn to promote something. If you just want to do something to get a message out, if you're a loan officer, let's say, and you want to say, thank you for a loan, or you're trying to connect with a borrower because you're trying to get another piece of documentation. Sometimes video just breaks through the noise of email and text and just, it's like a Trojan horse, just getting right in and being able to get that message to somebody you're trying to connect with. I've had potential customers where I have reached out before they're signed up, and multiple times over email and leaving voicemail messages. I mean, that stuff can go nowhere. And then in one case in particular, I used BombBomb and I made a video and emailed it to him. Now there's a lot of firewall security at banks and credit unions and stuff. So sometimes that stuff doesn't get through. This did. He got it. His next response, maybe 10 minutes later, was, okay, you got me. Let's talk. And we signed him up. So it's just a different way to get your message across that cuts through a lot of the noise.
I love that. That's a great personal story of, a triumph that you've had using video. So thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
I think a lot of people don't realize that video is not live, right? Unless you're recording a live video. I mean, it can be edited, If I can say anything to anyone, I get nervous still, when I'm presenting or when I'm going on video, those nerves still exist.
Me too.
You learn to embrace them and just continue going forward. But with recording video, I mean, you can edit it, you can retake it so many times. My thing to say to you is, if you're not doing it yet, just hit record and just start doing it. And I can tell you, it gets easier. You got to practice it. I'm still getting better at it, but looking at my videos 5 years ago or 10 years ago, even some of the videos I did from 10 years, I mean, good grief, the quality and the mess, just way different now. So you got to start somewhere. And if you're not doing it and you're looking for a reason why, listen to me and Ryan. It can be a game changer in your life and your business.
I would say too, keep it brief.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the number of times I'll see somebody, maybe a loan officer, they'll post a video on LinkedIn and it's all about how to take a really good application with the audience being borrowers. And then it's a 7-minute video. And I'm like, I'm out. I'm thinking of something else 20 seconds in. I always say 30 seconds is probably the max time that you want to have of a video to get your point across. If it's really, really good and engaging, you might be able to go a little bit longer than that. But you're right about, too, the fact that if you're insecure about doing video or whatnot, people get captivated with video. They're not going to notice what you're insecure about as much as they're going to go, wow, this person does video. And then they're watching it, right?
Yeah.
Because we love video, TV, movies, all of that. It falls in the same category. So yeah, just record yourself and give it a shot. I've gone to MMLA, had a sales rally a couple of years ago, and where there was a loan officer who did a segment on doing video, and somebody had asked him and said, hey, don't you worry about giving away all of these tricks. It's worked so well for you. Don't you worry about giving it away to your competition. And he goes, no, because most of you are not going to do any of this after I'm gone. And he was right. Still, very few people take that leap into doing video. And they think it's great. They see that it's great. They want to watch other people do it. They wish they could do it, but they don't take that leap. And I would say, take the leap. Don't worry about the quality. And over time, it'll get much better.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. Yep. All right. Well, we've talked a lot about your career and how you've gotten there. Let's talk about MMLA a little bit more. You touched on it, but tell us, your beginnings in MMLA, how long you've been involved, why you got started, and why you continue to be a huge partner and a huge member of the MMLA.
Sure. So I'll be honest, up front, when I started at United Guarantee, we were told that we were required to be on a committee for MMLA. And the reason why was just the the exposure and the networking, it commits you to something. You're going to meet people, all of that. And I latched onto that right away. I was on multiple committees for the Southeast chapters golf outing. Eventually, I would chair it myself and organize it for a few years. So I got very involved on that end. Golf is something I'm passionate about. I enjoy doing that. So that was easy kind of to slide in there. And then there were other roles that I took on years later, including I took a membership role on the state committee. And so I was part of that to help organize those state events. I was a liaison to the membership committee. So for a long time, I was attached to that for MLA. And to me, being a part of that organization, for somebody who does what I do, it's imperative. That's where people are going to. That's where networking takes place. That's where you're finding out, if nothing else, what's going on, like who's where and what events are coming. And you learn the value of things like sponsorship and involvement and promotion of things like pursuing the AMP and the CMB designations. All of these things are good, healthy things for anyone's career in the mortgage business. I mean, we've often said you only get out of it what you put into it. And a lot of that is true. But that sounds oftentimes to me like burdensome, like, oh, I got to go to this luncheon, or, oh, I got to go do this thing or get on this call for MMLA. But I have found that it is something where it's the relationships that you establish. It energizes you. You work together. There's a lot of collaboration. It works really well. It's great promotion for your company. I've not heard one company say, I don't want you to be involved in any of that. It's great promotion when you're involved in those sorts of things. And it just, that investment is a healthy thing. So I now cover Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. I am also attending events and involved with the Indiana mortgage bankers and the Ohio mortgage bankers. I even went through the Future Leaders program with the Indiana mortgage bankers. I know MMLA now does that as well. And everyone I've talked to who has come out of that with the MMLA has spoken very highly about that process. So we continue to grow. And, I love all of the folks that I've met through those trade orgs, but I will tell you, MMLA is the best. We're so active, and we're so involved, and the quality of the events. We have people that come to our annual conference from out of state. They fly in for it. There's just a lot. There's a lot going on. A lot of that is attributed to Joanne and Trinity and the staff there, but the people who have done it long term and have served on the state board and whatnot, really, we owe a lot to them. They've given a lot of time, and they make sure that everything gets done right.
Absolutely. That's a great reminder to just say thank you to all the people that have, put all the work in, you included, Joanne, Trinity, but it is a volunteer organization, and the relationships that we build amongst the other volunteers at the MMLA, those relationships go really deep. And I think that's one of the pieces that the longer you're involved, the more you understand is that, those relationships exist outside of MMLA if MMLA were to go away, right? Like I could call you, you could call me. These are things that, transcend the organization itself, but they're there because of the MMLA, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would say too, when you're in sales, the biggest issue that people usually have about getting into sales is the fear of rejection. You live in a world of rejection, potential rejection every day. When you're going out, that can be over email, over the phone, over Teams or Zoom, but also certainly face-to-face. We have all these different ways to connect today. But the potential for rejection is just always there in sales. But when you have relationships cultivated in an organization like the MMLA, man, it's just like, you don't have to be somebody else. You don't have to feel like you need to be somebody else. So the stress level of that, if that's something that stresses you out, kind of comes down because you walk into an event, you walk into a luncheon or whatever, and people and it's comfortable. And then you can be like who you are, which is, as an individual, that's where you will excel. Yeah. So getting into the MMLA and developing those relationships really help you, I think, in a lot of cases, professionally become the best that you can be, at least in those moments and in those, at those events. So
yeah, absolutely. And you talked about like how it energizes you, and I feel the same way when I'm going to these events. I'm looking forward to it, like it's something that if it's happening next week or, during the week that I'm in, I'm looking forward to, that event and seeing the people that, getting the guest list ahead of time and seeing who's going to be there. We just had the MMLA or the West Chapter golf outing, which I got to see you at, and a ton of other, MLA members and some potential members as well. And it was just a good time, and everyone, everyone was talking to everyone afterwards, and all the tables were commingling. And that's what I love to see most importantly at something like that, is at the end of it, everyone's coming together, because when you golf in the golf outing, it's hard to talk, you're golfing and you get to talk to the whole sponsors. But I think the best parts are the beginning and the end of the golf outing, because you get to, mix and mingle with all the attendees.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. For me, I find those events and I get it on my calendar, and then I plan my day around that. So it's really helpful to have those events and to, to have those opportunities to connect with people, and really, whether it's the beginning of your day or whether it's the middle of the day or something later in the evening, I always look forward to those as a part of my workday.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan, we've talked plenty about the work environment, networking, professionalism, all that kind of stuff, which is great. And this is why we're doing this podcast. But tell us about who you are outside of the mortgage industry or the mortgage insurance industry. What gets you up? What keeps you going? And what do you like to do for fun?
Sure. My faith is a big part of my life structure. I'm very involved with my church. I've even had opportunities to host, which just means opening up weekend services with announcements, and I'm helping to kind of further the service itself and close at the end. So that is something I've continued to stay committed to, and it's one of the highest priorities in my life. Summer is my favorite time of year, and it kind of stinks because my two favorite things to do, fishing and golfing, both take place in the summer. So it comes down to, when there's a nice day or a nice weekend, which one am I going to do? I do not love winter at all, but I live in Michigan. I'm just below Canada. So what do you expect, right? It's going to be cold in the winter. But I love summer. I'm totally energized and driven by summer. I say that I'm solar powered. Like, I need the sunshine and all of that to keep me going. So
that vitamin D, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, for sure. I got a fishing kayak years ago for Father's Day, and I absolutely love it. It's all tricked out with rod holders, and I've got an anchor for it, and holds my tackle and everything. And often go out to Mecosta, Tubbs Lake, where there's a chain of lakes, and you can just be gone all day. So those are some of the things that I really, really enjoy doing. I'm a fan of film and all of that, so I like to catch a good movie or keep up on what's coming out or what's going on. So I definitely, also during the summer, usually is the blockbuster movie time, but I think they've really changed that around to having, really good films released throughout the year. So I constantly take in some of those, whether it's away at the theater or just at home, watching film. So I enjoy a lot of that too. Trying to get into reading a little bit more as well. Admittedly, that is I have to be intentional about that, so, yeah. But I do enjoy, I enjoy all those things.
Thanks for sharing. The acting thing and watching movies in theater, have you ever thought about trying out for like a local play?
Yeah, I get that question quite a bit. And we do have in Midland, not far from me, they have a performing arts theater, and they get some pretty good productions that come through, but they do some local stuff as well. I have considered that. I've been asked a bunch. My wife continues to encourage me to do that. Is that something I'll get into? We'll see. I'd like to take the time to do that. And now that, I've gotten my CMB done, which was a career achievement that I absolutely wanted, a box I really wanted to check. I've got more time to consider that. So yeah, it's something that's on my mind for sure.
I'm thinking the same thing. I have some connections that are in local theater, and every time I talk to them, it kind of like rekindles that thought of, I should just go for it and just try out for one of them and see, what it's like, and dabble that foot back in there. When I find that 25th hour in the day, I think, I'll step back in there. But it's cool to learn that about you, because I did not know that, that was your beginnings, and you probably didn't know that about me either. So
I didn't.
It's cool to share that, and it makes a lot more sense. And it I learn more about you the more conversations we have. So it's been super productive, enlightening. We're gonna ask you for one more thing, Ryan, and that's to leave our listeners with one positive thing for the industry, or just, something that some mantra you have, anything you want to leave us with? One note of positivity here.
Sure. So I'm always obsessed with seeing how other people do such a wonderful job interacting with other people. I think it's something that helps you in my role be successful, but also just as a person, whether it's in your neighborhood, at your church, whether it's with your family members or just out in public, like how people interact so well with others. And I believe what really shines in people is when you have a heart of gratitude. It's something I have to be intentional about and work on all the time. When I have a bad attitude, when I get angry, when I feel sorry for myself, when, any of those things, and all of those things happen for me. I mean, I have to work on having a heart of gratitude. I don't know who said this, but I heard it a while back and I love it. And it's that humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. And for somebody who performs, can often be up on stage, can be in front of lots of individuals, can get accolades for something like achieving a career milestone, it gets really easy to get full of yourself sometimes. And I think humility is what allows us to stay grounded and to think of others before ourselves. And all of that stems from having a heart of gratitude, just being truly and genuinely grateful for what it is that you have. So that would be my recommendation to anyone. Put in that time and be intentional always of having a heart of gratitude.
I love that, Ryan. I try to wake up and practice gratitude every morning. It's been life-changing for me. And even in the moments when it's easy to practice the opposite, I try to think about how I'm lucky or grateful that I'm going through whatever it is that's challenging or whatever, because I know I'm going to learn a lesson from it. And that too has been really helpful in moments of, tougher times, if you will. You will find what you go looking for in this world. And if you look for the good in people, you'll find it. So I know I continue to find great things from you every time we talk and get together. So I appreciate the time you shared with us today, Ryan. Thank you to our listeners. Thanks for listening to the MMLA Connect podcast. And thanks to all the people who support the MMLA, all of our sponsors. We appreciate you, the volunteers, and anybody who's thinking about joining the MMLA. This is me and this is Ryan telling you it's worth it. Get involved. We'd love to see you there. Thanks again, Ryan.
Thank you.